When was the last time you breathed in your shower steam? Yesterday? This morning? Did it feel warm, comforting, harmless? For most of us, a shower feels like renewal. The mist rising, the muscles loosening, the breath deepening. But what if I told you that breath may not be harmless? That breath could be carrying an invisible killer straight into your lungs. I'm not talking about mold. I'm not talking about dust. I'm talking about something far deadlier. Legionnaires' disease. Now the name itself sounds almost mythical, doesn't it? Legionnaires. But this is not fiction. The name comes from a real tragedy in 1976, when war veterans from the American Legion gathered in Philadelphia. Hundreds attended. They were proud men, survivors of combat, men who thought they had seen death on the battlefield and left it behind. But in the days after that convention, more than 200 of them fell violently ill. Dozens did. Doctors were baffled. Newspapers screamed about a mystery illness spreading through the hotel. And when the investigation ended, the truth came out. It wasn't the food. It wasn't person-to-person contact. It was the air inside the hotel itself. Specifically, the cooling system. Inside its damp, neglected water lines, a bacterium had grown, Legionella pneumophila. And when the air conditioning blew, it didn't just carry cool comfort, it carried death. That was nearly 50 years ago. But here is what should terrify you. Legionella never went away. It still lives in water systems all over the world, in hotels, in cruise ships, in spas, in retirement homes. Even in your own house, you cannot see it, you cannot smell it, you cannot taste it. But you can breathe it, and once you do, you may not survive. I need you to understand just how dangerous this is if you are over 60. Because after 60, your body remembers every weakness. The cigarettes you smoked decades ago, the bronchitis you fought, the arteries that stiffened, the immune cells that slowed. They all come back into play. And Legionella doesn't care how young you feel. It only cares that your body can no longer fight back the way it once did. Do you know what happens when Legionella enters your lungs? It triggers a form of pneumonia so violent that doctors gave it a name all its own. Legionnaires. Fever spikes. Muscles ache as if they're being torn from the bone. Confusion clouds your mind. And the worst symptom of all? Breathing. Your simplest rhythm, the act you've done every second of your life without thinking, suddenly feels like drowning in dry air. This is not the flu. This is not a cold. And here is the cruelest truth. By the time you realize it isn't the flu, it may already be too late. You may be asking, but why haven't I heard about this, doctor? Why hasn't my physician warned me? And that, my friends, is the most dangerous part of all. Because Legionnaire's disease has been labeled as rare, and when something is labeled rare, it gets buried. Doctors stop mentioning it. Hospitals stop posting warnings. The media forgets. But bacteria do not forget. And statistics mean nothing when it's you. Rare means nothing when the shower in your hotel room is misting Legionella directly into your lungs. Rare means nothing when your retirement home pipes haven't been flushed in months. So let me ask you again. When was the last time you breathed in your shower steam? And do you know what you were really breathing? I can already hear some of you saying, "Doctor, I've been showering for decades. I travel. I stay in hotels. I sit in hot tubs." Nothing has happened yet. Yet, that word. Yet, the most dangerous word in medicine. Because yet is the whisper before the explosion. Yet is the time bomb ticking quietly, giving no sign until the moment it goes off. And when it does, it may not give you time to call for help. Legionnaires doesn't spread from person to person. You can't catch it from your spouse, your grandchildren, your neighbor. It comes only from inhaled water droplets. That means you are alone in this battle. Once it's in your lungs, it's just you, your body's failing defenses, and the bacteria multiplying in silence. Now you might think, well, surely if I got it, I'd survive. Medicine is advanced now. Antibiotics exist. Hospitals are ready. And yes, treatment exists. But here is the terrifying statistic. For older adults, up to 30% never survive Legionnaires' disease. 1 in 3. Imagine 3 friends your age, all healthy enough to take a cruise together. One of them breathes in the wrong mist from the ship's water system. He falls ill. He goes to the hospital. And no matter the antibiotics, no matter the machines, he never comes home. That is the reality. And no one told you. Why do I begin this way? Because you need to feel the danger before you can protect yourself. Because you need to realize that something as ordinary as breathing in your own bathroom can be a gamble with death. And because, before this video ends, I will reveal the hidden places where Legionella thrives, the overlooked signals that can save your life, and the simple but powerful steps you must take to defend yourself. This is not paranoia. This is not exaggeration. This is science. I've treated patients who thought they just had the flu. They delayed going to the hospital. They thought, it's just fatigue, I'll sleep it off. By the time their families brought them in, their lungs were failing. Some made it out after weeks on machines. Others didn't. What made the difference? Awareness, speed, recognition. The ones who survived were the ones whose families said, no, this isn't normal. We're not waiting. And that is what I want for you. To know what others don't. To see the danger others miss. Because here's the secret. Legionella thrives in the exact places seniors love. Cruise ships, spas, hotels, retirement homes, places built for comfort, places meant to be safe. And yet, those are the very places where danger waits. So let me make you a promise. If you stay with me until the end of this episode, you will never look at a shower the same way again. You will never step into a spa without knowing what to ask. You will never walk into a hotel without understanding what could be hiding in its pipes. But for that to happen, you must keep listening. Because what I've told you so far, the story of veterans in 1976, the bacteria in the air, that's only the beginning. You need to know why seniors like you are the perfect targets. You need to know the weaknesses in your body that Legionella exploits. And you need to know why doctors stay silent, even when lives are at risk. And that is what I will reveal next. We are not done yet. Because in part 2, I will tell you exactly why being over 60 puts you directly in Legionella's crosshairs. And why no one, not even your doctor, has warned you. Stay with me. Your life may depend on it. If you are over 60, I want you to hear me very clearly. You are not just at risk for Legionnaire's disease. You are the prime target. This infection does not spread like a flu, sweeping through every household. It is precise. It chooses the ones whose defenses have weakened over time. And by 60, the cracks are already there, whether you admit them or not. Think of your lungs. For decades, they expanded and contracted thousands of times a day. Every cigarette you ever smoked left scars. Every chest cold left damage. Every year left the muscles a little weaker, the elasticity a little less forgiving. Legionella sees all of that. It doesn't strike the 20-year-old athlete fresh out of college. It waits for you. The 65-year-old grandmother who smoked in her 20s. The 70-year-old grandfather who worked around dust and fumes. The body remembers every insult, every injury, every careless moment. And when Legionella arrives, it exploits every single one. The numbers tell the story that medicine doesn't. 1 in 3 older adults who contract Legionnaires' disease never survive to leave the hospital. Picture yourself and 2 friends, each over 60. Imagine that one of you inhales the wrong shower mist from the wrong hotel pipe. Imagine sitting in the emergency room, fever raging, breath shallow, your body failing. The doctors give antibiotics, yes. Machines pump oxygen, yes. But still, one of the 3 of you will never walk out alive. That is not drama. That is cold, clinical fact. And yet, you have never been warned. Why not? Why don't your physicians tell you this in your annual checkups? Why isn't there a poster in every clinic bathroom? The cruel truth is that the disease has been labeled rare. It doesn't generate headlines the way influenza or cancer does. It doesn't arrive every winter in waves. And so it is forgotten, ignored, pushed aside. But rare means nothing when the target is you. Rare means nothing when the very systems designed to protect you stay silent, when the danger is already in your air vent, your hot tub, your pipes. Rare means nothing when the only statistic that matters is one: your life, your survival. I have treated patients who thought they were invincible. Men who said, "I still run every morning." Women who said, "I eat clean, I'm strong, I feel young." And yet age is not about how young you feel. It is about how much your body has changed beneath the surface. Your immune system is slower, your defense is weaker, your lungs more fragile. And Legionella does not care how young you feel. It only cares how old your cells truly are. The injustice is striking. You have lived 6 decades, perhaps more. You have built families, careers, legacies, and yet no one warns you that the very places you go to relax, the spa, the cruise, the hotel, are places where you may inhale your last breath. Doesn't it feel wrong that after 60 years of life, the information that could save you is hidden behind silence? Doesn't it feel almost criminal that the one conversation you need with your doctor never happens? And this is why you must keep listening. Because the silence of the medical world leaves you unarmed. Because the so-called rarity leaves you exposed. And because if you stop now, if you walk away halfway, you will never hear the most important part: how Legionella hides, how it spreads, and how you can defend yourself. The danger is not outside your home in the chaos of the world. The danger is inside the walls of your bathroom, your retirement center, your favorite hotel. And if you do not hear the full truth, you may never see it until it is too late. Let me put it another way. Legionnaire's disease doesn't just test your body, it tests your awareness. The ones who survive are not always the strongest. They are the ones who recognize the signs, who act fast, who know what most people don't. And that knowledge, that awareness, is exactly what I am giving you in this podcast. By now, you may be asking, how did we let this happen? How did a disease that killed veterans in 1976 vanish from memory so quickly? How can something so deadly still be hiding in plain sight? To answer that, we have to go back. We have to revisit the history. The very first outbreak. The moment the world should have remembered forever, but didn't. And that is where we go next. In the summer of 1976, Philadelphia was alive with celebration. The American Legion, a brotherhood of war veterans, gathered at the Bellevue Stratford Hotel. These men had faced bullets, bombs, and battlefields. They had walked away from death once before. They were not fragile. They were survivors. And yet what awaited them was an enemy far smaller, far quieter, and far more merciless than any they had ever faced. Within days, men who had shared meals and laughter at the convention began collapsing. Fevers soared, coughs deepened, chills rattled their bodies. Many were rushed to hospitals. Doctors were puzzled. This wasn't influenza. It wasn't food poisoning. And it wasn't spreading from one man to another in the traditional sense. Something else was at work. By the end of the outbreak, 221 people had been infected. 34 had died. A gathering meant to honor survival had turned into a silent massacre. The newspapers of the time called it a mystery killer. Television anchors spoke with urgency, but no answers. Families demanded explanations. And for weeks, fear spread faster than the disease itself. Finally, scientists uncovered the truth. In the hotel's cooling system, its air conditioning, water had become contaminated with a bacterium no one had identified before. That bacterium was named Legionella pneumophila, in memory of the very men it had killed. And the illness it caused was named Legionnaires' disease. This should have been a moment of reckoning, a moment when the medical world stood up and declared, "Never again." A moment when every hospital warned its patients, when every retirement home checked its water, when every hotel reviewed its systems. But that's not what happened. Instead, the story faded. The headlines moved on. Legionnaires was stamped with a label. Rare. The world forgot. But the bacteria didn't forget. Legionella continued to live quietly in water systems all across the world, in pipes that were never cleaned, in vents that went unchecked, in spa pools that felt warm and inviting. It never needed headlines. It never needed attention. It only needed time. And time was on its side. Think about this for a moment. If a new virus killed 34 people at a convention today, it would dominate the news for months. Entire countries would go on alert. But Legionnaires happened in the 70s. The panic passed. The disease slid into the background. And by the time decades rolled by, hardly anyone over 60 even remembered its name. That is not an accident. That is the cruel nature of rare diseases. They are ignored, not because they are harmless, but because they do not strike every day, everywhere, all at once. And so they hide. But let me ask you, does it matter if something is rare when it kills you? Does it matter if it strikes 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, if you are the one gasping for air? When it's your lungs filling with infection? Does rare comfort you? Or does it make you feel abandoned, unseen, unprotected? The tragedy of Legionnaire's disease is not only in the lives it has taken. The tragedy is in the silence that followed. Silence from doctors. Silence from health systems. Silence from the very people who should be warning you now, in your 60s, in your 70s, when you are most at risk. This silence has consequences. Because if you do not know the history, you cannot see the danger repeating itself. And yes, it has repeated. There have been outbreaks on cruise ships, in nursing homes, in hospitals themselves. And each time, people over 60 are the ones who suffer most. And still, the warnings are whispers. A brief article in a newspaper, a technical report buried in a government website. Nothing loud enough to reach the very people who need to hear it most. Nothing loud enough to reach you. I will not let that silence continue, because you deserve to know what is coming. The truth is, Legionnaire's disease is not just a tragedy of the past. It is a present danger, lurking in the very air you breathe when you step into a shower, when you sit in a whirlpool, when you walk the hallways of a care facility. And while the headlines have forgotten, the bacteria has not. Now here is the part that should make you stop and think. Legionnaires does not spread from person to person. That means you can be in a room full of people, all breathing the same mist. And only those who inhale the contaminated droplets will fall. No coughing. No sneezing. No chain of transmission. It is not the kind of illness that warns you by sweeping through crowds. It isolates its victims. You. Alone. That is what makes it so dangerous, because there is no obvious outbreak until it's too late. No early alarm bell. Just individuals falling sick one by one until the pattern emerges. And by then, lives are already lost. So I want you to carry this thought with you. If something doesn't spread from person to person, how can you protect yourself? If the enemy doesn't show its face, how can you know when it's near? This is the hidden danger, the cruel twist. You can't depend on others to alert you. You can't wait for mass illness to warn you. You must recognize it yourself. You must know where it hides, how it enters your body, and what the first signs feel like. That knowledge could be the only thing that separates survival from tragedy. And that is why we now turn to the most unsettling question of all. How does this invisible enemy actually enter your body? What happens in the very moment you breathe it in? And why does every breath over 60 carry more risk than you've ever imagined? Because understanding that process may be the only way to stop it before it stops you. Let's pause for a moment and think about the act of breathing. You do it without thought. Inhale, exhale. Thousands of times a day, millions of times a year. Breathing is trust. Trust that the air you take in will give life, not death. But when Legionella waits in the mist, that trust becomes a gamble. This is not a disease you pick up from a handshake, from a cough, from a crowd. Legionnaires chooses a more insidious route. It hides in water, water that collects, stagnates, warms, water in hotel cooling towers, spa pools, whirlpool baths, and even the showerhead in your home if it hasn't been cleaned for months. Picture the moment. You turn on the shower. At first, the water sputters, releasing the droplets that have been sitting still in the pipes overnight. Tiny, invisible aerosols rise with the steam. They sparkle in the morning light, but you cannot see the danger they carry. You step in, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and in that instant, the bacteria enter. They ride on mist, no bigger than the width of a hair, drifting deep into the farthest branches of your lungs. Unlike dust that can be coughed out, unlike pollen that irritates and then leaves, Legionella finds a new home inside the very cells of your lungs. And there, it multiplies. Your body recognizes the invader and responds. White blood cells rush to attack. Fever rises, an ancient alarm bell meant to burn out infection. But Legionella is clever. It hides inside the very cells meant to kill it, using them as shields, turning your body's defenders into unwilling hosts. And as it multiplies, the lungs inflame, swell, and fill with fluid. Breathing becomes harder. Oxygen falls. Each breath feels heavier, more desperate. It doesn't feel like a stranger attacking you. It feels like your own body betraying you. Now imagine this not as a slow process stretched across weeks, but as an accelerated assault. In a matter of hours to days, the infection spreads across the delicate tissue of your lungs. Every inhale pulls in less oxygen. Every exhale feels shallower. And your brain, your heart, your muscles, all begin to starve. This is why Legionnaires is so dangerous for older adults. At 60, 70, 80, your lungs are no longer the resilient sponges they once were. The elastic tissue has stiffened. The muscles are weaker. The defenses slower. Each breath carries less reserve, less backup, less strength to fight. Legionella doesn't need to overwhelm a fortress. It only needs to push against a door already weakened by time. And let me remind you, there is no sound, no warning when the bacteria enter. You do not hear them in the water. You do not smell them in the mist. You cannot taste them in the steam. The entry is silent. The destruction is sudden. Think back to the places you've trusted. The hotel room on vacation. the cruise ship where you danced at night, the spa where you soaked to ease your aching joints. Each of those moments might have carried invisible droplets into your lungs, and you would never know until the fever hit, until the cough began, until it was almost too late. This is the cruel trick of Legionnaires. The infection begins long before the symptoms betray it. The invasion is quiet, hidden inside the very act of breathing. By the time you realize something is wrong, the bacteria are already multiplying in every corner of your lungs. Now you may wonder, why can't the body stop it? Why don't antibiotics immediately shut it down? The truth is, antibiotics work best when the infection is caught early. But Legionnaires is deceptive. It hides behind ordinary symptoms at first, symptoms that feel like the flu or a cold. By the time doctors recognize it, the damage may already be severe. And so, the question becomes, what does that early attack actually look like? How can you, sitting at home, stepping out of the shower, know that what you feel is not just age, not just fatigue, but the beginning of something lethal? Because the bacteria's entry is silent, but the body's reaction is not. It sends signals too often dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. Those signals, the symptoms, the warning signs, the body's desperate cry, are what we must uncover next. When Legionella takes root inside the lungs, it does not announce itself with sirens or flashing lights. It begins quietly, almost politely, mimicking illnesses you think you already know. That is what makes it so dangerous. At first, you may feel like you are coming down with the flu. A headache creeps in. Fatigue lingers longer than usual. Your muscles ache as if you worked too hard in the yard the day before. Perhaps you shrug and say, "I'm just tired. I need rest." You tell yourself it will pass. Then the fever rises. Not the mild, nagging fever of a seasonal cold, but a heat that grips you, burning from the inside. It spikes high, often above 39 degrees Celsius, sometimes higher. Chills rattle your body. Sweat pours from your skin, yet you still feel cold. And then comes the cough. At first, dry, then deeper, harsher, pulling from the chest. The more you cough, the more your chest aches, the more your breathing feels labored. For some, the cough begins to produce phlegm, sometimes streaked with blood. But most frightening of all is not the cough itself. It is the growing sense that air is harder to find. You take a breath, and it feels shallow. You take another, and it feels no better. Each inhale comes with effort. Each exhale leaves you gasping. It is as if your own lungs are closing in on you, as if invisible hands are tightening around your chest. For many older adults, confusion soon follows. The brain, starved of oxygen, falters. Words slip away. The room feels distant, strange. You forget the day, the time, the names of people you love. Families often mistake this for dementia, for stress, for simple aging. But it is the body's warning cry. The brain is suffocating. Legionnaire's disease moves faster than most expect. Within 2 to 10 days after exposure, symptoms can erupt, and once they do, the decline can be swift. This is not the slow unraveling of chronic disease. This is a rapid descent, pulling you from health to crisis in days. And here is the cruelest twist. At first, no one believes it. Patients think it is flu. Families think it is exhaustion. Even some doctors, unless they are vigilant, mistake it for something ordinary. And every day lost is another day the bacteria spread. Another day the lungs drown in fluid. Another day closer to the edge, I have watched this unfold. A patient comes in with fever and cough. We give standard treatment for pneumonia. But when it is Legionnaires, ordinary treatment fails. The fever does not break. The cough does not ease. The confusion deepens. And by the time the correct diagnosis is made, Sometimes the infection has already tipped the balance. This is why older adults suffer most. The body remembers every insult: smoking, pollution, illness, injury. The lungs are no longer strong. The immune system is slower, less precise. The rhythm of the body, once steady, begins to break. Legionella does not need to strike hard. It only needs to strike once, in the right place, at the right time. Think about what that means. A 70-year-old man spends a weekend at a hotel. He enjoys the spa. 2 days later, he feels feverish. He assumes it is nothing. By the 4th day, he is coughing and weak. By the 6th, he cannot breathe. His family rushes him to the hospital, where he is placed on oxygen, then a ventilator. The doctors whisper the word, Legionnaires. But for him, it is already too late. And yet this could have been different. If he had known the signs, if his family had recognized the sudden fever, the confusion, the breathlessness as more than just age, if he had understood that Legionnaires does not wait, that every hour matters. That is why you must hold on to these warning signs. High fever with chills that shake your body. Cough that worsens quickly, leaving you breathless. Chest pain and shallow breathing. Confusion, loss of memory, disorientation. Fatigue so deep it feels like your muscles are drained of life. If you ever feel these after a hotel stay, a cruise, a spa, or even after using your own shower, do not ignore them. Do not wait. Do not assume. Because the difference between survival and tragedy is often just one decision, the decision to seek help immediately. But here is the haunting truth. By the time symptoms appear, the bacteria are already inside. They are multiplying, spreading, overwhelming. And the question you must ask yourself is this: where did they come from? How did they get into your lungs in the first place? Because to understand how to protect yourself, you must know the hidden places where Legionella thrives. And those places are not exotic. They are not far away. They are the very places you trust most, the places you visit every day without a second thought, and that is what we must uncover next. When I tell patients that Legionella lives in water, many imagine jungles, swamps, or places they would never go. But that is the false comfort of distance. The truth is far closer. The danger doesn't live in wild rivers or lakes. It hides in the most ordinary corners of your daily life. Think of the hotel shower. You arrive tired from travel. You turn the faucet. Steam rises, and you step in, believing you are washing away the day. But behind the tiles, in the long pipes where water has sat stagnant, Legionella can wait. That first rush of mist carries it out and into your breath. You don't see it. You don't feel it. But it enters all the same. Or picture the whirlpool spa at a gym or resort. Warm, bubbling, inviting. Perfect for sore muscles. Perfect for aching joints. But warm water is exactly where Legionella thrives. Jets spray droplets into the air, filling the room with a fine mist. You lean back, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and with that simple inhale, you may have taken in something you will never recover from. Cruise ships, retirement homes, hospitals themselves, places designed to care for you, to give comfort or joy. And yet time and again, they have been sites of Legionnaires' outbreaks. On a cruise ship, hundreds can be exposed from a single contaminated cooling tower. In a nursing home, the vulnerable inhale what their weakened bodies cannot fight. In hospitals, patients already struggling with illness are pushed over the edge by a breath they should never have taken. Even your own home is not free. Do you have a guest bathroom rarely used? Pipes that sit cold for weeks? A shower head crusted with mineral deposits? A water heater set too low? allowing the water to linger in the perfect lukewarm range. Legionella does not need filth. It needs stillness, warmth, and time. 3 things many households unknowingly provide. Science tells us Legionella thrives between 20 and 50 degrees Celsius. Too cool to be boiled away, too warm to stop growth. It resists chlorine when it hides inside biofilms, slimy layers on the inside of pipes. Appearances mean nothing. A sparkling bathroom can still conceal a deadly reservoir. Clean tiles, fresh paint, polite staff, none of these protect you from the bacteria in the pipes. And that is what makes this so terrifying. Because you cannot judge safety with your eyes. You cannot smell protection. You cannot taste prevention. The water looks the same. The mist feels the same, whether it carries life or death. Every vacation, every spa visit, every night in a hotel is a gamble. You do not know if maintenance was done. You do not know if the systems were flushed. You do not know if the whirlpool you are stepping into is comfort or coffin. For those over 60, the stakes are higher still. Because while a younger person may inhale Legionella and fight it off with fever and immunity, the older body struggles. The older body remembers its injuries, its scars, its age. And for many, one exposure is enough. Now, I am not telling you to stop living, to lock yourself away. But I am telling you this: you must open your eyes. You must understand that the danger is not far away. It is not rare. It is not a story from the past. It is waiting in the very places you trust most. And that realization should lead you to one urgent question. If the risk is all around me, if it hides in showers, spas, ships, and hospitals, what can I do? How can I protect myself when the enemy is invisible, when no doctor has warned me, when every breath feels uncertain? The answers exist. They are simple, practical, and powerful. But they are not widely shared. They are truths hidden in technical reports, buried in safety manuals, ignored in conversation. And that is what we must uncover next. The secrets no one has told you. The simple defenses that can turn the odds in your favor. Because survival does not come from chance. It comes from knowledge. You may be wondering by now, if Legionnaires' disease is so deadly, if it hides in our showers and spas, why haven't you heard more about it? Why isn't every doctor warning you? Why aren't there posters in every senior center? The uncomfortable truth is this: medicine, like society, often turns its gaze away from what it calls rare. If an illness doesn't strike millions at once, it is filed away, hidden behind the curtain of statistics. Doctors are trained to think in numbers. If the numbers seem small, they move on. But you are not a number. You are a person. And when Legionnaires strikes, the only statistic that matters is whether you live or die. So the silence continues, and silence is deadly. I have sat across from patients gasping for air, families demanding to know why they were never warned. I have heard the same words again and again. If only we had known earlier. That phrase echoes in my mind, because knowledge is the one thing that can turn tragedy into survival. So let's break the silence. Let me give you the truths most people will never hear. First, understand this: Legionella is not unstoppable. It is not some mythical curse. It can be prevented. It can be controlled. But prevention does not happen by accident. It happens only when you take action. Begin with your home. If you have faucets or showers that are rarely used, run them for several minutes before stepping inside. This flushes out the stagnant water where bacteria thrive. Clean or replace old shower heads, especially if you see mineral buildup. Set your water heater high enough, above 60 degrees Celsius. because Legionella cannot survive long in truly hot water. If you travel, be alert. In hotels, let the hot water run for a while before stepping under the spray. In spas or whirlpools, do not be fooled by clean tiles or polite staff. Ask about maintenance. Ask when the system was last disinfected. If they cannot answer, do not enter. On cruise ships, be aware that these floating cities rely on complex water systems. Outbreaks have happened. You cannot change the ship's design, but you can listen to your body. If you feel fever, cough, confusion, even slightly, do not wait until the end of the trip. Seek medical attention immediately. And in retirement homes or hospitals, remember, even institutions meant for care are not immune. If the facility is old, if maintenance is lax, you may be at risk. Do not hesitate to raise questions. Do not accept silence. Beyond these practical steps, there is another defense, one that cannot be bought, but must be built: your own body. Your immune system may not be as strong as it once was, but it is not gone. You can strengthen it through rest, through balanced nutrition, through daily movement, every night of deep sleep, every step you take, every choice to nourish instead of neglect. These are signals to your body. Stay ready, stay strong. Your survival is not in your doctor's hands. It is in your daily habits. But here is the secret almost no one tells you. The most important factor is speed. Legionnaires' disease can be treated with antibiotics. Many who receive treatment early survive. Many who delay do not. The difference is awareness. The difference is recognizing that fever, cough, breathlessness, and confusion after exposure to water sources are not ordinary. They are warnings. So you must train yourself to see what others dismiss. You must prepare your family to act when you cannot. If you are confused, if you are weak, they must know the signs. They must demand the tests. They must not allow doctors to call it just flu. This is not paranoia. This is protection. I know some of you may feel overwhelmed. You may think, "Doctor, you've just told me to fear every shower, every spa, every trip." But listen carefully. Fear is not the point. Awareness is. The truth is, most people who know how to defend themselves never fall victim, because they act differently. They see differently. They breathe differently. And that is why you must keep listening, even now. Because although I have given you the tools, there is one more truth to hear. The truth that will decide not only if you can prevent exposure, but if you can survive infection. It is the truth of timing. The truth of recognition. The truth that every hour matters once symptoms appear. That is the final piece of this puzzle. And it is where we must go next. There comes a moment in every illness when the body whispers, "Something is wrong." Most ignore it. They roll over in bed, tell themselves it will pass, drink a little water, wait. But with Legionnaire's disease, waiting is death. Every hour counts, every breath matters. Once Legionella takes hold in your lungs, the clock begins to tick. And if you hesitate, if you dismiss the signs, the infection may outrun even the best doctors, even the strongest antibiotics. Remember this, Legionnaires is treatable. Many survive when treatment begins early. But the tragedy is that most people never recognize the danger soon enough. They assume it is flu. They assume it is exhaustion. They assume it will pass. And by the time they realize it will not, their lungs are already drowning. I have seen this too many times. Patients who arrived at the hospital within the first day of symptoms often walked out alive. Patients who waited 3, 4, 5 days, too many, never returned home. That is the cruel calculus of time. So what must you do? Train your eyes to see the signs. High fever with chills that shake your body. Cough that worsens quickly, leaving you gasping. confusion, disorientation, loss of words, breathing that feels heavier, shallower, weaker than ever before. If these appear after a shower, a spa, a cruise, or even in your own home, do not wait. Do not hope. Do not explain it away. Go. Seek help immediately, because survival is not about strength. It is about speed. The body remembers every injury, every cigarette, every scar. The rhythm of life, steady for decades, breaks under the weight of this infection. But you still have one weapon left: knowledge, awareness, action. And that is why I have spoken to you today, not to frighten without purpose, but to give you the shield you never received. To break the silence that has cost too many lives. Ask yourself this: how many doctors have ever spoken to you about Legionnaires' disease? How many times has it been mentioned at your annual checkup? How many friends your age even know the name? For most, the answer is 0. And that silence is why outbreaks keep happening, why families keep losing loved ones, why 1 in 3 still die when they should not. But you are not in the dark anymore. You know now where it hides: in showers, spas, pipes, ships, hospitals. You know how it enters: through mist, through breath, through trust turned deadly. You know the signs: fever, cough, confusion, breathlessness. And you know what to do. Act fast. Demand answers. Refuse to be dismissed. That knowledge may be the only thing standing between you and a silent death. I will tell you this with all the urgency I can. Every hour you wait could be your last chance to breathe freely. Every delay brings you closer to the edge. So listen to your body. Trust the whispers. Do not give the bacteria the time it craves. This is where fear becomes power, where awareness becomes survival. The body remembers. The rhythm breaks. But you are still here. You are still breathing. And as long as you are breathing, you can act. Stay alert. Stay alive. And if you want to continue arming yourself with the knowledge that no one else will give you, subscribe to Dark Habit. Because knowledge is your only shield. And the dangers around you are not waiting. And neither should you.